Hello there, what is going on everyone? Today we are talking Star Wars Legion Legacy expansions. What is that? I'm talking about older expansions, some of the best ones to pick up if you have the chance. There are various different reasons why I'm going to suggest some of the expansions that I suggest that might be worth you checking out. I'll try to justify my reasonings behind them, but of course, if you disagree or you think that maybe I missed something that was important, I'd love to hear it from you. Let me know down in the comments section below. As you know, Star Wars Legion is getting a full rebranding, a full reprint. Almost everything is making it over into this new version of Star Wars Legion. And the older logo, the black and gray sort of box that we've seen before, those aren't being reprinted anymore. And so there are some of those, what I'm calling legacy expansions, that might be worth still picking up if you have the chance, if you haven't picked them up already. This may be a video that kind of targets new players a little bit more, but it may also be worth for those veteran players to look around and see if, before you throw out all of your old stuff, maybe there's some things you want to hold on to. And of course, this is just the beginning of the discussion. You're free to disagree with me or let me know what I've missed. The discussion continues in the comment section and on our Discord, so make sure you join the Discord, join that comment section, like, subscribe, share, all that great stuff. Plus, we are still doing the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. That's actually going to be announced at the end of this video right here, so you're in the right spot. Make sure you watch all the way to the end. If you want to enter to win any of my giveaways, you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. If you don't win this one, don't worry. There's plenty more. We'll be doing these all the time. And plus, we have giveaways going on Discord right now, also on Patreon. It's all kinds of good stuff. So everybody, I try to give as many groups of people lots of stuff. And we do them on our live streams and all that other stuff like that. So I like to do giveaways. It's super fun. And all right, with all that being said, let's go ahead and start talking about some of these legacy expansions that might be worth picking up, starting with the ones that are a little more subjective, and I'm going to ease my way into the ones that I'm more confident on and that maybe you'll agree with me. First one, I want to talk about the Rebel Troopers expansion. Now, this is one of those things that a lot of people said, why would I ever pick up a Rebel Troopers expansion outside of like impact grenades when the game first came out, which I think was the only exclusive thing to this and the Stormtrooper expansions. There really wasn't very much reason to pick up a Rebel Troopers expansion because you got two of these units in the core set. It wasn't that great of a deal. And plus now Rebel Troopers are getting fully reprinted, and so outside of the entire line getting a reprint and everything being replaced, maybe you want some of these old minis for nostalgic sake. Granted, these are in a softer plastic, so maybe not the best sculpt, but the reason I put Rebel Troopers on here out of everything else is because my favorite gun in the game is that Z6, and the Rebel's the cheapest. The Rebel Trooper was always the cheapest way to get a Z6 onto the board, and I love the Z6. I recognize the Rebel Troopers don't have an offensive surge, and I recognize that it's still 6 white dice, which may all come up blanks, but they may all come up crits, and I can play 100 games and fail with them 99 times, but that one time that I roll that Z6 and I get all crits showing, it just validates all of it for me. It's very fun. It's a very fun unit. Again, I like fistfuls of dice. I have fun with that. It's okay. Not every unit has to be competitive. To me, the Z6 is one of the most fun units in the game because it's a cheap unit and I get to roll a lot of dice with it, and I love that. To me, that's really fun. We may see the Z6 for the Rebels again. We may not. I know that there's been some talk that they may be coming back in possibly a Trooper upgrade pack. You may have Z6 options with the build your own commander and stuff like that. But just in case we never get them in the Rebel Troopers again, it'd be a cool model to have. And I did think it was a pretty cool sculpt. And so maybe they change the sculpt, maybe they don't. Again, this one, you can take it or leave it. But I think there's some value in holding on to some of those old heavy weapon or Rebel Troopers that might not get any use for a while. It may be a while, maybe they may never come back. It may just be a little bit of a brief intermission before we get them again. Again, this one's just kind of loosely on there. Moving forward, the Wookie Warriors. Now this is I'm talking about the original Wookie Warriors box. This one, again, presumably if you find this, you'll have it at a discount. You maybe be able to find this one on sale. Hopefully it'll be very cheap, maybe in a bargain bin. So why am I suggesting this one when there's already an updated Wookie Warriors? This was the first unit that got like reprinted in better plastic. This was the first one that kind of got totally redone. This was the first one that kind of said, you know what, these are obsolete. You know, and again, that also kind of makes this sort of an in-demand expansion. But there's something else here, is that there's an alternate sculpt for these. Now, granted, every reprint is going to get an alternate sculpt. So why do I put Wookie Warriors in here? Well, because Wookiees have their own battle force. And if you want to run all Wookiees, yes, the battle force for Wookiees is a Republic battle force that does also allow Yoda and clone troopers and things like that. But you're going to, you know, if you're like me and you don't want to run clones with your Wookiees, because we know what happened there. I've watched the movie. I took notes. Not pretty. Not pretty at all. I want to run just Wookiees. A cool thing about this one is it does give you ways to have multiple different types of Wookiees. It gives you different sculpts here. And granted, the new sculpts are superior in that they have a little bit more detail, and they have some cool things like dreadlocks and then the braided beards and all kinds of cool stuff like that. But if you want Wookiees that look a little more traditional and a little bit more maybe bland or generic, you know, here's an option. The other thing I like about this is, even though they're soft plastic and maybe slightly less detailed, it adds diversity to your Wookiees. So all of your Wookiees, if you're running a lot, won't all look the same. So that's a cool way to do it. Granted, there's lots of other ways. I know some people do 3D printed stuff. Some people do all that stuff. I'm not somebody who does that. I don't have a 3D printer. I like to run the official stuff as often as possible. And these are still official and legal for play. And so it's a great way to diversify a Wookiee battle force and kind of give yourself a lot of extra Wookiees. Plus, you may find that you do want some Wookiees, since Wookiees are going to be coming in, you know, they're going to be included in starter boxes. So you might, you know, have at least a few Wookiees and say, you know what, now I can vary up my Wookiee visibility a little bit. I can make my Wookiees look a little bit more distinct and spread out. And, you know, this unit looks this way, this unit looks that way. It's kind of it's an interesting thing if you're into Wookiees. If not, then maybe this is a pass for you. But I'm also counting on the fact that since these are old and kind of obsolete expansions, you may be able to find them cheaper in a bargain bin somewhere. And so that's another reason that makes some of these old expansions pretty cool. Moving on. Of course, Palpatine, right? We've been talking about Palpatine being erased from the game. He is... I will say that, and we're going to, you know, spoilers, we're talking about Royal Guard next, all right? Palpatine, Royal Guard, and Pathfinders are all going to be on this list. But I'm talking Palpatine first because he is... I mean, he's the Emperor. He was in Legion. He may never return, or at least not in this format. So it'd be a cool, nostalgic, or collector's item kind of piece to have Emperor Palpatine. And I feel like with the cancellation of Palpatine and the Royal Guard and Pathfinders, it would have been a little bit better to say that, you know, coming from AMG, hey guys, moving forward, Palpatine is still legal for play. He just won't be legal in tournament play because we can't kind of bring him into the new edition. So you can still run him for your kitchen table games, for your casual games, for your fun games with your friends. You still can run him, but he won't be getting balance. He won't be getting points updates. He won't be getting the new art style, and he won't be legal for organized play. So still legal for legacy play. I mean, legacy play isn't really an official term yet, but still legal for, you know, all types of casual play, just not tournament legal, basically. And I think the whole drop there might have gone over a little easier if they had worded it that way. However, that's kind of how it is, right? You can still run this guy if your opponent agrees to it. So, you know, he's still cool. So yeah, still run him. You know, if you want to, he's a cool guy. This is the only way you're gonna be able to get him in that old box, right? So, you know, officially get the real one, right? Same thing goes with Royal Guard. These guys actually had really cool sculpts. They were cool models. I loved it. You know, you do have that official Royal Guard kind of pose where they're all standing upright and they're kind of just lined up, dress right dress. And I kind of also wanted to have some Royal Guard that looks like that again, especially for like diorama purposes and things like that. But these guys were very dynamic and looked really cool. This was a cool expansion. They were super groovy. Also, they went the way that Palpatine went, and that they may not ever be coming back. So we're probably not going to see them again. It'd be a cool option to get them, especially they kind of go together, especially if you can find them both together. It might be worth picking up because you may never see them again. Also in the same group is Rebel Pathfinders. This one is a little bit different, and that's why I have it last, because I want to talk differently about Rebel Pathfinders. They are also not moving forward in the game with Rebel Pathfinders having their own unit. But it was said that way, like they may not have their own unit, which means they may come back in a different form. They may transform, they may be redesigned. They may not be a unit of Rebel Pathfinders. They may be something different. It may be a Bad Batch style unit of, unique named heroes. They may not be generic Pathfinders anymore. It may be like Rebel Commandos, where they have a generic unit, but they also have a hero unit, and maybe the hero unit's called Rogue One, and then the generic unit's called Pathfinders or something like that. They may do something totally different, where kind of like the Imperial High Command, where we get Tarkin, Thrawn, and so on, and some different heroes, we may get all named Rebel Pathfinders in a box, and they can be run in different ways. Maybe they can be run as commanders or operatives. Maybe they can go into different Rebel Trooper units as individual heavies and officers and leaders and things like that. Again, there's a lot of different ways that they could return. And if they do return, wouldn't it be cool to have, your choice of sculpt? Maybe Bistan comes back as an operative. Maybe he comes back as a heavy option that can go in Rebel Troopers. But either way, if he does come back, I bet you he'll come back with a new sculpt. And wouldn't it be cool to have the old one? Also, they've said that these guys are legal for tournament use if you want to proxy them for Rebel Troopers. So there's also use for them in the meantime. You can put these guys in for Rebel Troopers, and that could be fun. It could be a cool thing to do. Although if you're a big fan of Pathfinders, it might be a feels bad to see them still on the table knowing that they don't have their former glory. You don't get that awesome Ion shot and Health 2 on Bistan. You don't get Inspire on POW. You don't get all those cool things. You don't get Danger Sense on this unit or Dauntless or any of these other cool abilities that they had. But you can still use them as Rebel Trooper proxies right now. Again, they're legal as Rebel Troopers in the game today. So they have multiple uses. You have those, Also, Melshi is a character in Andor Season 2, or at least it was in Andor Season 1. It was also a named character in Rogue One. Some of these guys may come back redesigned, and a lot of changes might happen to this unit, so it might be kind of cool to have the old ones, so you have some different sculpt options, or if you want to do a diorama with a whole bunch of these guys, or if you just want to use them as Rebel Troopers. A lot of cool options here. And of course, the final option is if you still want to just play casual gaming, you can still run these guys as Rebel Pathfinders. Again, AMG is not going to come to your house, kick in your door, and see you playing with Palpatine, Royal Guard, and Pathfinders on your kitchen table and snatch them away from you, saying that's not legal. Of course, you can still use these if your opponent agrees to it. You just won't be able to use them in organized play, so leagues or tournaments, or if you go to like a casual or we're playing Legion every day on Sunday, and you're trying to use old stuff, that probably won't work because people may be practicing for tournaments and things like that. So you want to clear it with your opponent. Hey, can I run some of the old stuff? See if they agree to that. But yeah, it's still something that could theoretically be done. So there's a multiple reasons to pick up this pack if you're a fan of Rebels, and if you're a fan of Rogue One, or if you're a fan of the Pathfinder unit and how they work in the game, because they were surprisingly effective, as I can attest. So moving on, we have some stuff that I think has a little extra value. There's two more expansions that I think stand a little bit better than the rest. First is the Droidekas. Now, first off, these were already in hard plastic. I don't think there's a whole lot of changes between the new versions of Droidekas that are going to be coming out versus this version of Droidekas that was originally released. Although they may be changed a little bit, I have a feeling this is largely going to be the same general model. So why pick these up? Well, I'll tell you why. Ball mode. The original Droidekas came with the ball mode model, and so far we have not seen that. Granted, this could totally change. They could say, oh, no, Droidekas are also coming with ball mode. And maybe they are. Because the weird thing about this, and again, if you're interested in cost-saving measures or whatever, I get it. It might not make sense. They have a ball mode token. They have a ball mode token that, a lot of times you didn't really have to swap out the mini. You could just put the ball mode token down there and say they're ball mode. Because I think along the lines from what I understand with FFG is they weren't sure if they were going to have ball mode ready or if they were going to be able to do ball mode. So they didn't promise that they'd have ball mode. It wasn't even like it was like a surprise. I think Alex Davey ended up kind of leaking like shortly before the core set came out when the Clone Wars stuff was coming out. But it was kind of like they kind of hid that, like, we don't know if we're going to be able to do ball mode or not, so don't promise it. Just show the fully made droidekas. But ball mode is a really cool thing, and so far with all the preview images that we've seen, I have not seen a ball mode on the new droidekas, and I would not be surprised if they don't come. If the new droidekas don't come with the parts and the sprue to make a ball mode version of the droideka. So it may be that this is the only way to get your ball mode droidekas. So if you still have these, hold on to them. They may, because again, it's pretty cool to actually, roll your droideka up into a ball mode with a whole separate miniature for the same unit. It's a really cool thing, and it was a really, really nice touch for the Clone Wars core set and the launch of the Clone Wars. It was a very cool thing, although they were a pain in the butt to assemble. Not easy to assemble. Speaking of assembly, that's going to take me to my number one item, and by far the one I hope the fewest people disagree with me on. I hope everybody agrees. If you've ever had to put one of these together, it's definitely the number one pick for best legacy expansion, the ATST. Not only is this one of the best tabletop miniatures ever created, I mean, it's just beautiful, gorgeous, and it gets people to stop and say, whoa, what game is this? That looks amazing. I absolutely loved this thing. Yes, there is a new ATST out that some might say is better than this because it comes with a little mini Chewbacca and Imperial officer that can go on the top, Major Marquand. Yeah, that's okay. AMG kind of redid the ATST. And why I don't like the new version of the ATST can be summarized by saying they made it so much worse as far as a model kit, because they removed your ability to they removed your ability to be able to pose it or hobby with it. This model was adjustable. You could make the joints go in any way you wanted. You can have it looking down, you could have it looking up, you could have it stepping, you could be dynamic with this thing, you could have it stepping on rocks, you could do a lot of stuff. Some people stood it up really tall, some people, just did it quite normal. And when they redid the ATST, they made the joints so where they went into a fixed pose where you could no longer pose or reposition this thing. It was one of the biggest travesties I've ever seen done to a miniature, and while it's still a cool model, they made it so much lower, and they made it like looking almost down, which I just thought was awful, because you very rarely see an ATST looking down like the AMG kit does. I just did not like that model. The original one is by far the superior model. And this is one that I would spend more money on this than it's worth, because it's just that great of a kit, and how dynamic it is. You can have it. These things are typically walking, shooting ahead. The gun can angle down a little bit, but you don't want the whole head angling down. Now, there's a reason why they locked the joints into a certain position, because like any unit, it shouldn't be like, you could do crazy things with it. You could have it stand like twice as tall as it should have been if you like made the joints if you built it as tall as you possibly could. And then you were kind of going against the spirit of the ATST, and that's not how it should actually be. And so instead of just saying ATST has a silhouette that is exactly 8 inches tall, or however tall it's supposed to be, they just locked all the joints in place. Now, that means if you want to be able to mod it, you're going to have to file some things down and put some sprue glue and things like that in there to kind of make it still work. So it's still possible, but I hate that they did that. The original version was perfect to me. It was one of the best models I've ever seen, and this is definitely one of the best kits in the world to pick up. So even if you're not a Star Wars Legion player, this is just a phenomenally beautiful kit. And definitely get these. If you have any, hold on to them. I think, or build them, and have a great time with it. They're absolutely wonderful, and one of my favorite all-time kits, one of my favorite tabletop miniatures of all time, and one of those things that got a lot of people into Legion in the first place. Sometimes all it takes is that one perfect expansion to rope you in and say, man, this thing is beautiful. I'm going to play this game. It's happened to me with a couple of games, and this was a really good one for a lot of people that I have used this to get other people into the game. The new one I don't think would have quite the same effect, because I don't like the way it's posed, but this one was perfect. So those are the best legacy expansions for Star Wars Legion. Let me know if you agree with any of my picks, and if you disagree, or if there's things that you think should be on this list, let me know down in the comments section below. We also have a winner to announce for the $25, the most recent $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. Our winner today is going to be Ernie B573. That rhymes all the times. Optimus Primes. No, nothing about Optimus Prime. Congratulations, Ernie. Go ahead and shoot me an email at mailcrabbok@gmail.com. Remind me that you won the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway, and I'll get you squared away. Everybody else, stay tuned. More giveaways will happen, and plus you can check out Discord or Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel, doing all that cool stuff. Until next time, we will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.